Yeah, sorry, the meeting is being recorded. Yeah, so once we cover these, like the most common questions, we are happy to take any other question as well. Yeah, so I can start with the first one, which is how is preparing for CPA different from ICI? And again, the underlying assumption here is most of us are Indian chartered accountants, and if not, again, the assumption is you are familiar to the Indian way of studying, teaching, whether you are a BCom or whether you are past CA intermediate. Yeah, you still can do it, but again, your pathway may be slightly different versus someone who is an Indian chartered accountant. And just for everyone's benefit, because of the MOU that exists between ICI India and CPA Canada, the Indian ICI members are eligible to become Canadian CPA once they pass the CFE exam, provided they qualify as far as the articleship and those training requirements are concerned. So if again, I will not take too much of your time, and keep it at a high level, and feel free to ask questions. So CA is more a exam which focuses on depth, right? So there are a lot of complex problems, and a lot of those problems are quite academic, right? Again, I think the attempt is made by the ICI as well to make it as practical as possible. However, we still see there is quite a few things, like it will tell you to calculate weighted average cost of capital based on a hypothetical situation which may or may not happen in real life, right? And there's a lot of focus on accuracy. So if you have if I take an example, you have accounting profit and you have to now compute the tax profit, and there are 8 or 10 adjustments, so a person who attempts the most and who is closest to the model answer gets kind of the most marks. Again, now if I flip it, switching gears to CFE, the focus here is more on case study based, which is all practical. CPA. You will be given a scenario that you are a CPA. You are either advising a corporate, or you are advising an audit committee or board of directors or the business owner, right? That what happens in this situation. So this very practical and case driven based. The second is, the focus is not so much on accuracy, right? So, and again, I think we can connect on this point in some of the other questions. The focus here is how much, instead of depth, how much breadth you can show, except in financial accounting and management accounting and your elective where depth is tested. But apart from that, every other subject is basically tested for width and coverage, not depth, right? And the other is knowing the marking guide is very important. Although in CA Institute also we used to have those model answers, but here the marking guide is some kind of a tool that the CFE examiner has to necessarily follow, and he has to give you tick according to the marking guide to make you rate you competent, which is the goal eventually. Yeah, I will stop here and I will now ask my fellow panelists as well to comment upon.
Yeah, I totally agree with Abhijit. So the preparation for CPA is more of a case-oriented thing. So what I feel is that when you are answering a CPA, CFE exam, just think that like you are talking to a user. So basically you have to keep the users of the financial statements in your mind, not just as writing a descriptive answer that we used to do in ICAI exam and CA finals. And in fact, even if you consider like what is the difference between exams for day 1, day 2, and day 3. So basically, day 1 would cover something a strategic case wherein the board of directors are discussing something about the proposals they have, the budget they have, and which proposal they would like to implement. So as a CPA, you have to consider all the proposition, you have to consider a qualitative analysis as well as a quantitative analysis. And based on that, you have to give a conclusion that, okay, if the company accepts this proposal, then it would be the most beneficial to the board of directors as well as to the stakeholders. Similarly, if you go for day 2, so again, day 2 consists of one single case in which you have to show your depth in financial reporting and management accounting along with your elective. So the financial reporting would be covering something like ASPE or IFRS framework. Now we cannot decide that which framework are we supposed to choose. It would be given in the question paper that the company reports in such framework and we are supposed to answer accordingly. And based on that, our assessment is done for day 2. Similarly, for day 3, again, there are 3 cases and we have to answer each and every case showing our knowledge in all the areas that covers ranging from taxation, management accounting, financial reporting, assurance, and finance. Now, on day 3, you need not to show the depth in all the areas. They mostly focus on the breadth. And the good thing is the assessment for day 3 is done in total of day 2 and day 3. And day 1 is assessed totally separately. So on day 2, you can get some buffer, especially let's say if you have not performed well on a financial reporting area. Still, you will get another opportunity on day 3 to show that depth. And same applies for management accounting. But unfortunately, that doesn't go for day 1, right? So that is how the exam preparation for CPA and ICAI is little bit different. And this is how the pattern of assessment is done for day 1, day 2, and day 3. So now I would like, pass on the next question to Sharvari.
Hello all. I'm Paul. All are doing good. So the third question is about how much time for preparation. So it's very subjective concept, but from my experience, I can say like for CA, I did one study and 2 or 3 revisions, but I really didn't have that much time for my CPA exam. So I would say like I started from February and exam was in May. So like 3 months I studied for the exam. So preparation time would be like 3 months for me. Uh, so yeah.
Okay, I can take the fourth question, which is elective to be chosen. And again, that is one of the common questions people have in mind. And I would say no one size fits all. And you can consider basically two criteria. One is what is your preference to a subject, right? If you like a particular subject, then definitely that is one of the criteria. And the second is what has been your experience, right? If you have done work in audit, right, then assurance may be a go-to subject for you because you have done real practical work in that. If you are somebody who have done a lot of work on FP&A, if you are a plant accountant, you have done a lot of work on management accounting, budgeting, analysis, then performance management is a go-to subject, right? That means you have an edge versus others. Similarly, if you have somebody who have worked in M&A, private equity, banks, financial institutions, and so on, then definitely finance will be a subject you are better conversant to versus someone else. So I would say apply these two lens and see, which subject you like and where you have worked more to then decide the elective. Yeah. Anuj?
So I'll just take the fifth point, the fifth question, that is relevance of coaching. Now, if you think on the coaching point of view, it could be very subjective. Let us say if you are able to understand that how the exam preparation is to be done, what all are they covering, and if you are able to use the marking guide effectively, then you might not require a coaching, but then it's very subjective. because I did try with one of the coaching tutor, but I was not satisfied and I just left it after a month of joining. Although I was not much bothered about the money, because the main thing was I was focused on the career. And then I did all the preparation on my own using the past BOE reports, the marking guides, understanding what the board of examiners are actually expecting out of you. The best thing is that BOE always releases a report after the attempts, and they write specifically that on a particular question, how the candidates have performed, what was the with the weak candidates and how the strong candidate has performed in the exam. And that gives you a fair idea like what are you supposed to write. So let us say if there is any question of, let's say, revenue recognition, so BOE will clearly specify that they are looking for these many points. And you're supposed to cover these points to, achieve a C or maybe some full mark, something called CD. And that helps you a lot, right? So also there is one question, I guess I'll just take that. Okay. I'm not aware of like what Densmore provides, but I was focusing more on the Notia that is provided by CPA, and the other one was the ebook that is again provided by the CPA. Now they have changed it to some cloud books. I am not aware of it because I don't have the access to the latest portal, but that was more than sufficient. And the best thing is recently they have updated their material. So in the last pages of all the topics, you will get some of the practice examples, which are totally from the past exam papers. So that really helps you to prepare for the exam. And okay, someone is asking that where can we find the resources like books, marking guides. Okay, so marking guides are available and books will be available only if you are registered with CPA. So once your registration is complete, they will also provide you the access to Notia and the ebook portal, and then you can download all the materials whatever is relevant to you. But BOE reports are available on a public portal. I will ask Udit to share that link with you, or we'll just share that link so you can just access all the past cases. Yeah, over to Sharvari if you want to take the next question.
Marking pattern different. So in India, we have a dedicated paper for each subject, and that was marked out of 100. But here, there is no marks as such. So either the result is pass or fail. So, and the marking is for day one, it's simple pass or fail. For day two and day three, they test us on depth and breadth of the subject. So, this is the marking pattern difference between two exams. Secondly, here bell curve is also observed. So here we are not only compared with the marking guide but also with how fellow students have uh, written the exam. So these are the two main differences between two exams. Someone asked me about that. Have I studied only from February? So to answer to that question is yes, I was studying in between, but that was not full focus because I have a toddler to take care and I was working also full time. So my sincere effort started from February. And I appeared for CFE last year also, but I was not successful because I hardly got any time to for studies because that time my son was just born. So the answer is yes, I started my studies from February. I will
Yeah, and I
hand
would
over.
just like to add, the pass percentage, right? That unlike Indian CA, the pass percentage is much higher. If you do the research, it is between 70 to 80%. But I would add two caveats to that. It doesn't tell you how many of them are first time or whether they have done, how much of them are day one, how much is day two and three, and how much are both, right? So based on, I had taken past course, and when I used to ask this question, my understanding based on and the past examiners used to say that typically you can say 50% is the kind of pass percentage. First attempt both the day one and day two slash day three. So just that is something you can keep in mind. So basically one in two are passing, right? Which is good to know, definitely. And secondly, like Sharvari mentioned, they follow a mix of competency-based model where a person is rated based on five criterias, right? competence with distinction, CD. C is competent, RC is reaching competent, NA is not applicable, and NC is not competent. So the attempt is to get C and not CD, right? And I would like to take a minute to clarify why not CD, because again, conventional wisdom would say that, you should try to pass with distinction, right? Because that is again an Indian mindset. If we have the potential and possibility, why not? But here it can actually backfire, right? And I will just explain you why. Because you might be then spending more time on a particular assessment opportunity, right? And like I was explaining you, marking guide, say marking guide may require for a particular assessment opportunity at least three, but there may be seven or eight possibilities. So, and you have attempted all seven or eight in that particular AO, and you got a CD, competent with distinction, but that was not required, right, to get competent. But it might mean that you may not be able to spend time on the other assessment opportunity. And again, just some thumb rule which people can try to remember, that typically day one is a 4 hour exam, and the good practice is you spend almost 20 to 25% on reading and making notes, and the balance 70 to 75% on writing. So typically 1 hour is gone in terms of studying, right, or reading the question. So for day one, you have typically you get six strategic questions and two or three kind of operational issues to address. So day one is not that time stress. You have a reasonable amount of time. Day two, you have a mix of financial accounting, management accounting, about six assessment opportunities. It can be between four to six. That's the kind of thing. And then 7 to 9 assessment opportunities on your elective. So you have 15 AOs to be written in 5 hours. 1 hour you are just reading. So basically, if you divide 240 by 15, you have 16 minutes per assessment opportunity. Again, just something to keep in mind. And for day three, here the focus is to do more with less, because you have again three different cases. Each case can be between 70 to 90 minutes, but you typically, if it is an 80-minute case, you typically have six assessment opportunities. And again, if you are spending 25% or 20 minutes on reading, so you typically have only 10 minutes per AO. So that is something to keep in mind. And for day three, you may have to be ruthless. You have to tell yourself, enough is enough. I can't spend more time and I have to move to the next one, because otherwise, you will be missing, and a lot of your AOs will get into NA or NC level, which is not the desired state. And sorry, I'll just stop making one last comment, because this is a common question people have, that how many C's and RCs should I target? And again, it is not published by anybody, based on some understanding with people who have been in this profession for a long time. My understanding is you should target 50% C competent and 50% RC. But again, when you are writing, you don't know, because it will be bell curve based on how others have responded. But again, these are some, I would say, thumb rule to keep in mind. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll take two questions. Like I can see there are a lot of people asking so many questions about the upcoming attempt. So one of them is the how many attempt limit do we have for the CFE exam? So see, if you're coming through the MOU route, so we have just 3 attempt limit. Within 3 attempts, you have to clear your CPA. Otherwise, you will be deregistered and you will have to start from the basic level. That is, I guess, PEP or PEREP. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, that's how the process is. So, and the other question is that the person is giving exams this September and worried about the day two, any specific tips? So yeah, I would say, as per my personal experience, that on your day two, you will have your elective as well as your FR as well as management accounting. Now the thing is, for your elective only, you will only get day two to show your competence. If you are unable to show your competence in your elective area on day 2, you won't be able to cover up on day 3 anyhow. But in the case of FR and management accounting, you will get the time on day 3 as well to show the sufficient depth. So I would say, like what I did, I marked down a time of 11 a.m. So as soon as the clock ticked at 11 or maybe around 11:15, I just started with my elective, which was assurance. And I made sure that at least I attempt 6 out of 7 AOs during day 2 to achieve sufficient number of C's or to show sufficient amount of competence to the examiner. See, basically the exam is not about showing your competence, but it also helping the examiner to give you the marks to let you pass the exam. So just keep that thing in mind, that you have to focus on your strengths. You have to focus on the main points that you are aware of and just complete and try to complete as many AOs on day 2 and day 3, which is possible. Yeah.
And I would like to just add one more point on day two exam, because this is a 5 hour exam, right? So, and this was a problem that I had because I had also personal and professional responsibilities. I never had that 5 hour window, even on a weekend, to write the exam. So I will share a kind of a jugaad tactic, for people who might, it might be helpful. So, as Anuj mentioned, here the objective is to you have an opportunity in FR to show that you get at a depth you are eligible, and also an elective. So I would say you follow a 60-40 rule. 60% of the time spent on your elective. So again, let's break it down. You have 300 minutes or 5 hours. You are reading for 1 hour, so that you are left with 240 minutes, right? 240 times 60% is 144 minutes. Like as I mentioned, you will have about 9 AOs on your elective on an average. It can be 7 to 10 in an average, but I'm just saying. So you have about 16 minutes for that. The jogad, what I was going to suggest is, if you don't have 5 hours, you and the section, the question paper is such that the FM or the financial accounting and the management accounting piece is typically same across all people who are taking day two. So you will be knowing which is the part on which you are supposed to respond to the financial account, which are the AOs. So read that, do that on one day, right? And like I mentioned, give yourself 40% of the time if you are doing that on a Saturday, and then 60% do that next day if you are doing your elective, whether it is assurance, PM, taxes, or finance, right? So that way you are not having to spend 5 hours in a single sitting, because again, for me, it was a real challenge to find that much window. So I thought I'd just share that with others. Everybody, I think you are on mute if you are trying to say something.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
I would like to add just one point for D2. In FR or financial reporting and management accounting, you have to show depth in one area, either FR or MA. So I chose that I'm strong at management accounting. So I concentrated all my efforts towards elective first, then management accounting, and then FR. Those same strategy I applied for my day three also. So I covered management accounting first, and then I concentrated my rest of the efforts on FR. So because here I have an option that I have to show my depth in one of the areas. So I cannot completely ignore financial accounting, but you can choose which is your strongest and which area you are more comfortable with. So that helped me a lot for day two. And overall, I practiced a lot of cases. So case writing is very much important, which I hardly got any time in my previous attempt. So that's the learning I got from my past failure, and I learned a lot. Like by solving cases, I found out the patterns for audit and taxation related thing. So there are like, if you see the past exam questions, then there are like common questions about taxation and audit. So there is a trend, or like you can see the common questions that are always tested. You can make a note of them, and you can concentrate your efforts on those areas. And I just studied important concepts in other areas like finance, audit, and taxation. So my major focus was on my elective and financial reporting and management accounting. So that's how it helped me to concentrate my efforts on studies and case solving.
Even I would add one more point with Abhijit and Sharvari. So the thing is, when you're writing your day two and day three, we tend to sometimes, overthink about a particular case. So what the exam expect from you is don't overthink, don't overwrite, but at the same time, don't even underwrite. You have to just do a balance of quality as well as the time. Because sometimes we feel that if we add two more points, we might get a CD. But if you see, the marking for C and CD is at the same level, it doesn't matter. So just write whatever the user is expecting out of you. A user could be a stakeholder, a bank, or anything. That will depend on the case. So just keep that thing in mind, and just like try to understand that CPA is just expecting a reasonable attempt from your side. They are not asking you to have a in-depth knowledge of each and everything, right? So they are basically looking for an entry level CPA into the industry. So just keeping all these things in mind, you can attempt your exam.
And I would
Shall
like to just add, you may have to take some calculated risk, right? And which comes with practice, right? Like in day three, particularly when the time is stressed, I would normally not go beyond 3 points on any thing, right? And you will get some kind of a clue from the question paper. If the question paper only half a page is talking about a specific AO, then you can think that the marking guide should be about three. But if it is a one page talking just about one AO, then you may have to think that, okay, maybe I have to write 5 points, right? Because it's covering 8 or 9 points, right? So these are things which you will come based on practice, and you have to take some calculated risk. And again, no one size fits all. You will not know at that point of time, but you will have to listen to your gut or heart or brain, whatever you say. But it will come over a period of once you are writing. And sorry, I will answer one more questions which people ask, that how many cases should I be writing before I take the exam? Again, no one size fits all, but I would say if we have to take some kind of a benchmark, 3 day 1 cases which you can get from your capstone 2, attempt those, particularly because those would be relevant for the actual case that you will be writing. So very useful. Second, on day two, if you can practice up to 6 cases, that will give you very good coverage. If not six, 3, 4, but then try some, just think and don't see the marking guide, at least apply your mind to attempt, even if you don't have the real time to write. And day three, as I said, these are 3 cases. So individual cases, which are between 70 to 90 minutes, if you can practice 12, that will be a good, coverage as far as practice for the exam is concerned. Yeah.
In fact, day three will give you more options with the cases because day three will have more variety. Day two are, I think, if you start from 2015, there would be hardly 12 or 13 cases. But
Yeah.
in the same way, if you take day three, there would be 36 plus cases. So basically, you will be solving 36 AOs from just FR. So that will give you an understanding of topics like lease, revenue recognition, consolidation, a lot of things, and that will also help you to get prepared for day two indirectly, not directly but indirectly, because day three is more of a breath area. That's why. Yeah, so there is one more question, which material should be focused on exam preparation, that is ebook or notia. So I would say notia is basically a kind of a bear act. So if you have seen the bear act, that would be similar to that, which will be accessible to you when you are writing the exam. So let's say if there is any AO that is typically related to revenue recognition. So you can just refer the revenue recognition, just concluding whatever your conclusion is. But ebook is in depth, will show you the examples just like a layman, and that will help you to prepare for the exams accordingly. So you will have to use a combination of both actually, ebook as well as Notia. There are some practical questions as well, I guess. There is someone asking, we have to choose between audit and tax on day two. We want to practice in future. So I think which is the right person to answer this one because he's practicing.
Yeah, again, it depends on what kind of practice you are in, right? If you want to be an audit practice, then again, you have two options. Of course, if you take audit as an elective, it will help, but you still have an option of taking a separate exam for practicing for license as well, right? And if you want to do tax practice, definitely knowing tax at depth is helpful, but again, I would not really encourage people to do that because, it is kind of a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, you are getting to learn more, but the risk is really high because, if there are two things which we are learning from scratch as when you are taking the exam, one is the Canadian taxes and one is ASPE, but we don't know anything about these, right? So then but again, like I said, I always appreciate everyone's journey is unique. You can decide on that, but you may then have to give more time to yourself because you are starting from scratch. You are competing with the people who have spent 2, 3 years studying Canadian taxes in depth, right? So, but it's perfectly fine if that is the path you want to take. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there is one more question. All AOs need to be addressed or can be missed one or two? Sharvari, would you like to answer this one?
Yeah, sure. So, it it should be like you should answer all AOs according to me, but you can miss couple of AOs. But in that case, you should be sure that you are covering enough to have Cs or RCs in other areas. Otherwise, like if as we said that it is a bell curve performance. So
Mm.
if you miss and if others have performed, then like there might be risk, but it like we can't say, but it is always
Yeah.
encouraged to write all the AOs.
Yeah. I would say that's target like 90% of the question paper that is to be attempted. You can take that calculated risk, what Abhijit mentioned, but I guess 90% could be the reasonable
Yeah,
thing.
but if you manage your time properly,
Yeah,
then I think you could
100%.
easily complete 100%.
Yeah,
So
that's
for
true.
day three, you should stick to the time that is written for
Mm.
each case. Like you have to ensure that you are stick to that time. If you go
Yeah,
beyond, like then it will be like screwed up. Because
yeah.
in my last attempt, like I missed on majority, like
Mm.
most of the AOs on day three, and my result was pathetic. But this time I only missed one AO, and the result is a different story.
Yeah, that's the entire thing.
And
Even I
here
have heard.
I would like to add one word of wisdom maybe. If you
Mm.
have to miss, don't miss because of lack of time. Make that
Mm.
choice. If there is one AO which is
Mm.
really tough and you have to
Mm.
spend a lot of time on that, and you will not be able to get to RC under any circumstance, then miss that. But
Mm.
don't miss because you don't have time. I'm saying control should be with you. Make that informed choice, right? So
Mm.
if if it is like that you don't there's no point attempting that you will not be able to get beyond NC, right? Then that's fine. Then just focus on your time and effort on the others, but there shouldn't be a lot of such AOs, and only for day three. Like I said,
Yeah.
day one
Yeah.
and day two, people are
That's
expecting
what.
you to answer each and every AO.
Mm.
On day three, like as I said, there are 6 times 3, almost 18 AOs you are
Mm.
handling in 4 hours, which is
Mm.
really a lot. So everyone may miss it. I missed it, honestly, and like
Yeah,
Sharvari
same.
said, she missed it. Yeah,
Yeah, I missed two
it's
of
not
them.
end of the world, but I
Yeah,
would
Yeah.
say make that strategic choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
even
what
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
I just made sure that I will miss AO, which is from my elective. So
Yeah,
I just ensure that I did enough for my elective on day two. So made sure that I will not miss anything on finance, audit, tax, or
yeah.
FR or MA, so that I will get the breadth marks.
Yeah, I think even I had the same strategy. Even I left the AO from assurance. I remember that.
Yeah, I left from performance management because I did enough for day two. So I was like, okay, I can miss this.
Even I would like add one more point that while I was preparing for my day two and day three, I came across a concept called time traps. So what is a time trap? Basically, you will get at least one AO on day three, which you will feel like it could be an easy, but once you start attempting it, it will take at least half an hour of yours in calculation and concluding, which will even impact the other AOs. So just be alert of such time traps. Like people call it a time trap, so just be alert of such AOs as well. Don't
Mm.
spend too much time on such AOs. Just move on to the next one.
Yeah, and this is one thing I like about CPA Canada,
Mm.
because if there is answer of one is dependent on the next question, they don't penalize you for
Yeah.
Mm.
not doing the
Yeah,
first question wrong,
Mm.
yeah.
right? So every question is marked in a standalone basis. So even though your starting point, like I was saying,
Mm.
book profit and tax profit, right? And then
Yeah.
after that, you may have to calculate the tax. Okay, now
Mm.
your tax profit is not calculated correctly, so your tax calculation will definitely be wrong, but they are not going to penalize you. That penalization will happen only in the
Mm.
first year, not in the second year again, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just take the next question. Is it possible to change elective in between attempts? Yeah, you can do that. I think that should not be a major problem. But once you have chosen your attempt and you're near to your exam, then I guess you cannot change. But once you are applying for the exam attempt, you can choose whatever elective you want to go for. And there is one more question. If I get NC in elective in day two, still can we manage to clear? Well, CPA Canada doesn't come out with the number of C's
Yeah.
that you need or number of CDs that you need to clear a day two and day three. But make sure that at least you're not getting any NC in your electives. For your electives, just target C's or CD. That's it. Nothing below that, nothing beyond that. But apart from that, I guess maybe Abhij or even Sharvari would agree that no one is clear with the number of C's and C's that CPA is actually looking for. So, yeah, that's
It's
a
very difficult. Like there is
yeah,
no guidance, nothing about
there's
that.
no guidance, but just target for the
It is
C's
a
and CDs in
relative
your
world,
electives.
right?
Yeah,
So ultimately, every year's question is can be sometime more tough versus more
mm,
easy. So it's a relative world. That's why they compare, that benchmarking and the bell curve comes into play,
mm,
right? Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so there is one more. I had registered with CPA Ontario last year through MOU route and could not appear for CFE due to family and did not pay the student fees this year. I guess you should shoot a mail to CPA and just, explain them your situation. They might charge you some late fees or penalty or some that kind of amount, and they might let you continue with your student exam. But I've
But
never done. Yeah.
I think like you have to go through all that process, like submitting good standing
Okay.
certificate and all, because
Okay.
once you are deregistered, like you have to re-register
Mm,
again, then entire process has to be followed again.
yeah. Right.
Because I registered when I was in India, because my plan was
Mm,
like before coming to Canada I will give exam, but due to
mm,
COVID that didn't materialize.
mm.
So I was paying registration as student fees. That was a big that was a big expense for me, but still I was paying because I just didn't want to go through entire port and
Mm,
having a good standing certificate from
yeah,
ICAI.
that's a hassle actually.
So
Okay,
it
so
is
someone,
40 minutes already. I don't, of course, we took a lot of questions, but I don't know if we
yeah.
want to open up for people to ask live questions.
So in case anyone want to have a question directly with Abhijit, Anuj or Sharvari, you can just unmute yourself and can come forward with your question. I think we are all good. You people have been
Hi,
awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Probably this was answered earlier. I joined a bit late. I'm sorry if it has already been answered, but I would like to know little upon the preparation strategy. Like, should we spend few months on technical, then go to cases, or the case be taken right away when you start your preparation? I'm sorry if it has been taken up earlier. So, can I know more on that?
I would say that in my experience, try to cover up at least all the A-level topics for your exam and then
Mm-hmm.
start with the initial cases. And
Okay.
then it goes hand in hand. Like once you write the case, you will come across few topics which you feel that might not have been asked. And then you can cover
Mm-hmm.
those topics. Like I would take an example of foreign exchange. So
Hmm.
sometimes it was categorized as a B-level topic. But once you come across a case, you will realize, okay, even I need to do that topic as well. And then you can simultaneously cover up that. It's like in this May 24 attempt, also this occurred. The cash flow statement they have never asked in the CPA history, but this time it was asked.
All right.
So
Okay.
that's the reason start with day three cases, cover up at least your
Mm-hmm.
60% of your syllabus or all the A level topics, jump to day three and then jump to day two.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. As you mentioned before, so I just want to understand how do you know that you have missed an AO and which AOs we need to answer?
Uh, there are paragraphs or words that you can look for, like you are required to perform, or you have been asked to analyze this. So you just have to identify all those questions. So I used to mark them like AO1, AO2, AO3 on question paper, and that gave me a track of it, that I'm not missing anyone. And I used to follow a sequence, like what in whatever sequence I have marked them numerically. So I used to follow that sequence. So in this way, I ensure that none of the AO will be missed.
Oh, okay. And also, my next question is with Abhijit. Abhijit, it would be helpful if you can explain again that 60-40 rule, which you have explained before.
Sure. So that was just in connection to day two. Like I said, so day two, you have an opportunity to show your depth either on FA, financial accounting, or management accounting, but you also have an option on day three, right? So that's one. And second part is elective, right? Whatever is your elective, if it's assurance, performance management, finance, or tax. So that's the only day you have. So like I think Anuj was mentioning, you start with your elective, allot 60% of your writing time on your elective, because that is the main focus area, and you will have more assessment opportunity questions there, basically 8 or 9 of them, right? So that is like must to have, and you don't have any other day to cover for that, right? It's like a do or die situation. Or in case of cricket parlance, like this is like semi-final. You don't have any other attempt. But in case of FR or MA, you still have an opportunity, but there are 5 or 6 assessment opportunities there. So there you allot 40% of your time, and of course, the attempt will be to try to get to a competent. But as I said, in case you don't get through, you still have an opportunity on day three. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Does that help?
There are a couple of more questions on chat. Like, what
Yeah.
is the pathway for CA qualified candidates? Do they have to start from CA PEP? And there is a second question from Ishrat. Do we refer Notia during writing exam or use own memory because of time constraints? And
Okay,
then
so
we
I
can have
will
a
take.
question from Shalini.
Yeah, so I'll take the first two questions. So what she's speaking is about the CA inter thing. So this seminar is mainly focused on the MOU between the ICAI and the CPA. So if you are a qualified CA from India, so we are talking about the CFE finals. But I guess if you are not a CA from India, you might have to start PEP level, but then again you have to get all your qualification assessed from CPA, and then they can suggest you that on which level you can start. So I guess CPA Canada would be a better authority to answer on that thing. And coming to, should we refer Notia during exam writing or use? So see, in during exam you will get an access to Notia, of course, for taxation and financial reporting and assurance. Taxation, if it is your elective, you would be good with understanding the Bear Act. But if not, then I would say for taxation, just go with your own memory for day 3. But for day 2, I guess you will have to use financial reporting, Notia. Without that, you won't be able to answer. And without that, even if you're answering, they might not even assess your case. So they expect you to take the important points from Notia, tie to the case, and make an analysis and then conclude. So that is how the exam pattern is. Yeah, I think we can take the question from Shalini as well.
Hi, I'm giving my exams in this September attempt, the coming September. So my question is very much specific to day 1. I have given capstone attempted capstone cases. I realize that I'm doing well in qualitative analysis, linking the situational analysis points and everything. But my quants are not matching with what CPA guidance says. Not matching, I mean, my quants are not specifically matching or relating to the objectives that the company has, say, certain operational margin percentage. Will that still be counted as attempted? Because I see the feedback guide where qualitative is given more weightage than quantitative. Will that still be counted as attempted?
Yeah, Bijit or Sharwari, would you like to answer or should I take this one?
Uh, like you should take that one because I'm not aware like how does that work.
Okay, I can try. So day one, like the focus is more on big picture strategic financial advisory, right? Typically, you are either advising to the audit committee or the board of director and things like that. So you rightly mentioned the focus is more on qualitative analysis. And given an option, like if I have to say you can do a simple cost benefit analysis by way of revenue and cost versus another one where you can use a discounted cash flow and use IRR. Don't get into that complex one. Use the simple one, right? Because the focus here is just to make that point that you are doing some sort of quantitative analysis to make your point. And again, like, it need not be the same analysis they have done as long as you are able to corroborate based on the facts of the case and make a point that this is how I'm concluding, this is my quant, this is the pros and cons. And day one is a very templated approach, right? What is mostly necessary is, of course, to do both qualitative and quantitative, then conclude it, and also tying back with the situational analysis. I would say give that the most importance, that how it is getting tied back to your vision, mission, values of the company, or the KSF, the key success factors that you have defined. I would say giving that the most focus would really be helpful.
Yeah, even I would like to add few points. You see, on day 1, they are basically focusing on your competency as a CPA who can communicate and who can critically think and can guide the company. So they are not looking or they are not expecting to, get the 100% accurate figure, because that is not the same for any of the CPA. And I can assure you, like, even if three of us write a same case, three of us would have different answers. Even three of us would have different opinions. I might go with option two, Sharvari might go with option four, and Abhijit might go with option one, right? So it would be totally different. It is totally personal approach. And just write the assumptions whatever you're taking on day one. Just don't miss on that. If you feel that you are taking some different approach, just write an assumption with that because of this I'm taking this approach, and I think rest of the things would be good. I hope this helps you, Shalini.
And there is like one link in your capstone module, which I referred specifically for day one, which is like a guide or a webinar given by CPA
Yes.
Ontario,
Yeah.
how to pass day one. So that helped me a lot in day one. So before your exam, if you have time, you can look at that also.
Yeah, and I would say try to listen to all the webinars actually for Capstone 2. Those are very useful, for day one. They have a separate one on the qualitative one, on data analysis, on quantitative, what is expected. Just listen to that, and those are really very helpful. And if there are two things that is most valuable out of Capstone 2, one is the webinar, and secondly, you will get three day one cases related to the case that will come to your exam. Of course, definitely try that, because most of the day two and day three cases are from prior years, but they just change the year, which is helpful, particularly from tax perspective, because tax laws may have changed between 2015 to 2023, 24. But the case remains most of the time from old CFE cases. So these are the two takeaways from Capstone 2 if you are doing that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was really helpful. I had another follow-up question on day two FR questions. I did notice that you said bringing a particular standard from NOSIA is very much important. So is that okay if I remember a standard? Say suppose it is like non-monetary transactions, which is a very small one. If I remember that, is it necessary that I give exact wording of the standard, or instead say this is what the standard says and this is what I want to apply? Is that okay? Is that approach fine?
Ideally, what is expected that if you are aware of the para, just copy paste that para, make an analysis tied to the case, and then in overall conclusion, just you can write that as per IFRS this, or as per ASPE, I'm concluding this thing, and this is the correcting adjusting entry that the company should do. So that's the ideal approach that they are expecting out of you.
So based on my experience last time, I also just remembered everything and I wrote it down, but that didn't help me. And when I asked for PAR report of my exam, that time they mentioned in the analysis that I should tie back it to the accounting standard. So it is very much essential if you tie back it to the accounting standard from Notia. Like I know, like we can remember, like I write it down about revenue recognition, but still they gave me that one comment that I should use standard language.
And this risk I can you can I think you can take on day three if there is a shortage of
Yeah.
time and you want to write some accounting. I just mention the accounting standard name and do your analysis. That could be acceptable to the CPA, but on day two you will have to compulsory refer to the NOSIA anyhow.
And it also depends, like if your main is MA or FA. So if your
Yeah.
main is FA, then you can take this risk for FA. But if your main is FA, then you should ideally go back to the standard.
Got it. Thank you so much.
I will take a last question, which is from Ajit Pal Singh. So the question is that I am getting activity summary for introduction to PEP as a quiz not attempted. So can anyone guide what I need to do? I am getting the email from CPA Ontario.
I guess we are all from MOU route, so we don't know anything about the PEP level.
I'm sure that Mr. Ajit Pal Singh is also from Mr. Ajit. Can you unmute yourself and can explain your question?
Hi everyone, good afternoon.
Yeah,
Very good
hi.
afternoon.
Thanks for giving your time. Actually, I am also through MOU route. I had completed my chartered accountancy 20 years ago. So I'm
Okay.
surprised. I have just recently landed 1 year ago. I
Okay.
don't know why I'm getting this. Quite possible I had clicked somewhere or not. So that's why I had asked a query. I am clueless as of now.
Maybe you can reach out to that CPA Ontario student helpline and they can better help you with this.
So what exactly this PEP is?
It's kind of a
PEP.
P1, we can say that we have in India, the foundation or CAPE1 or CPT,
Okay.
like equivalent to that.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Right. Thank you so very much. Thanks a lot.
no problem. No problem.
So, if there is anything like we can take a last question. If anyone want to ask, or because I know it's Saturday and it must be very hard for everyone to be over here. So we would like to conclude over here as it's already 4. So I would like to thank Abhijit. I would like to thank Anuj and Sharwari for their time over here on Saturday. Thanks everyone for joining in over here. And for sure, like we will be coming up again. And like I would request the speakers to please have their time. If they can give us our time and can touch many lives and can help many people over here. So there were 46 people to what I have noticed who were attending this event, and the help you people have done is really we really appreciate it, and thank you. We will soon enroll the another one in the 3rd week, and we will try to have every session on CPA Canada. If you have any questions on every 3rd week of every month, and thank you, thanks everyone, thanks for everyone for being over here. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, thank you.
Bye.
And all the best
Thank
to
you.
those who are appearing for September exams.
Yeah, all the very best.